What makes a man risk everything, his money, reputation, and comfort, to chase a vision the world calls impossible? Elon Musk isn't just a billionaire or innovator. He's a modern-day embodiment of ancient psychological wisdom. While others fold under pressure, he seems to grow stronger. Why? The answer lies not just in technology or intelligence, but in something older, deeper, Stoic psychology. In this video, you'll discover how Musk's mental toughness mirrors the teachings of ancient Stoics, and how you can apply the same mindset to your own life. So, stay with us till the end, because this isn't just about success. It's about how to suffer well, think clearly, and move forward when everything tells you to quit. Elon Musk's life is filled with decisions most people would run from. At a time when he had enough money to live in peace for the rest of his life, he made a choice to pour his fortune into companies that were more likely to fail than succeed. He slept on Tesla's factory floor, worked 120-hour weeks, endured media ridicule, and even admitted he had a high pain threshold. This isn't random behavior. It's a deep, intentional practice of embracing discomfort. And in Stoic psychology, this is known as voluntary hardship. The Stoics believed that comfort was a trap. Seneca, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, advised people to deliberately expose themselves to discomfort, even poverty, hunger, or cold, not because they were masochists, but because they understood that mental strength must be trained like a muscle. When life hits you hard, the mind trained in comfort collapses, but the mind trained in discomfort, it stays standing. Elon Musk's success is a living case study of this principle. Why would someone intentionally choose suffering? From a psychological point of view, it's about building resilience before it's needed. Modern psychology calls this stress inoculation. Just like a vaccine gives your body a mild version of a virus, so it can fight the real thing, voluntary hardship gives your mind controlled adversity. So when real chaos hits, you're not overwhelmed, you're ready. Elon didn't wait for pressure to arrive. He walked into it. And that choice gave him an edge most people don't have. One of the most powerful examples of this was during Tesla's early days. The company was bleeding money. The media called it a joke, and investors were pulling out. Musk didn't retreat to a mansion or hide behind PR. He worked day and night on the production line. He showed up where others disappeared. He took responsibility when others blamed. That kind of exposure to hardship wasn't a one-time event. It was a repeated decision to lean into difficulty rather than run from it. But let's go even deeper. Stoic psychology teaches that the discomfort we avoid often becomes a fear that controls us. Whether it's failure, criticism, rejection, or loss, when we run from discomfort, we hand over power to it. Musk's approach flips that script. He confronts discomfort head-on. He doesn't just tolerate criticism. He invites it. He doesn't avoid failure. He studies it. This aligns perfectly with the Stoic idea that adversity reveals character. It doesn't create it. It uncovers what's already there. Another reason this works is because discomfort creates mental clarity. When you remove distractions, luxury, comfort, validation, you're left with the truth. Musk often talks about focusing on first principles thinking, stripping ideas down to their raw form, without assumptions or emotion. This level of thinking requires a quiet, tough mind, and discomfort is the forge that strengthens that kind of mind. Most people want success without suffering. They want results without the struggle. But Stoic psychology reminds us, you don't rise above life by avoiding pain. You rise by going through it awake and willing. That's what Musk does. He doesn't pretend to enjoy the suffering, but he doesn't reject it either. He accepts it as necessary, even meaningful. Because deep down, he knows what the Stoics knew. Real strength isn't built in comfort. It's built in the fire. This approach has a psychological ripple effect. Choosing discomfort rewires your emotional responses. You stop panicking at failure. You stop fearing criticism. You stop craving validation. Instead, you build a quiet inner confidence, the kind that can face public failure and keep moving forward. It's not that Musk feels no fear. It's that he has trained his mind to act anyway. This is a true mark of a Stoic thinker. And here's the real insight for you. You don't need to be rich to live this way. You can practice voluntary discomfort today. Wake up earlier than you want. Take cold showers. Do something difficult without complaining. Speak truth when it's uncomfortable. Every time you do, you're training your mind the same way Musk did, on a stoic path to inner strength. This isn't motivation. It's transformation. Elon Musk's success isn't just about brains or business. It's about the psychology of endurance, the ancient stoic wisdom of choosing hardship, not because you want to suffer, but because you want to own your mind. He doesn't just build rockets or cars. He builds resilience. And in a world full of noise, weakness, and comfort, that might be the most powerful thing of all. In a world driven by reaction, where tweets spark outrage, news cycles provoke panic, and criticism triggers emotional meltdowns, Elon Musk stands out not just for what he builds, but for how he reacts when things fall apart. One of the defining traits of his psychological resilience is emotional detachment. Not as coldness, but as control. When chaos erupts, Musk doesn't let his emotions hijack his decisions. This level of self-mastery is not accidental. It reflects a core Stoic principle. You cannot control external events, only your response to them. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, taught that our power lies in our judgments. It's not things that disturb us, he said, but our interpretation of them. Musk seems to embody this idea. When Tesla stock plummets or media outlets publish personal attacks, he doesn't spiral. He doesn't become defensive or vengeful. Instead, he stays focused on the mission. This isn't a lack of emotion. This is a refusal to be ruled by it. And in psychological terms, it's known as emotional regulation, a foundational skill for mental clarity and decision-making under pressure. Consider the psychological impact of failure. For most people, failure feels like a personal attack. It threatens identity, creates fear, and triggers anxiety. But Musk views failure through a different lens, almost like a scientist in a lab, analyzing data without ego. When SpaceX rockets exploded multiple times before finally reaching orbit, most CEOs would have crumbled under the public embarrassment. Musk didn't. He studied the failures, learned from them, and tried again. This shows the power of cognitive distancing, a psychological method where one steps back from emotions to examine the situation with logic and objectivity. Stoic psychology and modern cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, intersect here. Both teach that you can't always change your circumstances, but you can change the thoughts you attach to them. Musk doesn't see failure as defeat. He sees it as iteration. He doesn't view criticism as a personal attack. He sees it as feedback, something to either integrate or ignore, but never absorb emotionally. This is a mental posture of someone who's trained not just to lead, but to endure. And what about public perception? Most public figures obsess over how they're seen. Musk? He often tweets unfiltered thoughts, makes controversial statements, and occasionally posts memes that stir backlash. Why does he do this? Not necessarily to provoke, but because he's psychologically unbound by the need for approval. The Stoics would call this freedom from passion, a state where your worth is not dictated by applause or rejection. Musk takes this further by willingly exposing himself to criticism, sometimes using it as fuel for transparency and innovation. This emotional detachment allows him to operate in high-risk environments without being consumed by the noise. Let's go deeper. Emotional detachment, from a Stoic view, doesn't mean indifference. It means choosing response over reaction. When Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you'll find strength. He wasn't preaching emotionlessness. He was showing the path to inner sovereignty. Musk walks this path with startling consistency. Whether it's investors pressuring him, regulators investigating him, or competitors mocking him, he rarely lets it affect his course of action. He listens, adapts, but never allows emotion to cloud judgment. In practical terms, this is the art of maintaining clarity under pressure, something few leaders achieve consistently. Most people, even smart ones, crumble when emotions run high. They lash out, make impulsive decisions, or retreat. But Musk, like a Stoic general, holds the line not by suppressing emotion, but by putting it in service of reason. His tweets might suggest impulsivity at times, but his strategic actions reveal deep intentionality. He knows what matters and what doesn't. He understands what is in his control and what isn't. This mindset gives him a psychological shield against the storms of public life. The impact of this mindset extends to leadership. Musk's teams often work in extreme conditions, long hours, high stakes, impossible deadlines. And yet, he inspires loyalty. Why? Because people follow clarity. They follow someone who doesn't panic, who absorbs pressure without spreading it. Stoic psychology teaches that your presence can either calm a room or infect it with chaos. Musk, for all his controversies, offers a steady psychological presence when it matters most. Now, can this be practiced by someone who isn't running billion-dollar companies? Absolutely. Emotional detachment is a skill, not a personality trait. It begins with awareness, pausing before reacting, asking, is this worth my peace? Is this mind control? When criticism comes, when plans fail, when emotions surge, you don't have to shut down your feelings. You simply train yourself to respond with reason, not reflex. You do what Musk does. You lead your emotions instead of being led by them. In a society addicted to instant reactions and emotional drama, Elon Musk represents something rare. Psychological discipline rooted in ancient wisdom, his ability to detach from noise, think clearly in chaos, and act without being emotionally hijacked makes him more than just a tech visionary. It makes him a living model of stoic resilience. And this is a kind of mindset that doesn't just change companies, it changes lives. Failure has destroyed many men. But for Elon Musk, failure has become a familiar companion, even a teacher. Rather than resisting it or hiding from it, he embraces it as an essential ingredient of growth. This mindset may seem extreme in a culture that equates success with perfection, but for Musk, the concept is deeply intentional. It echoes a profound Stoic philosophy known as Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. This idea isn't about resignation. It's about transforming pain, setbacks, and defeat into fuel for progress. And Musk, more than most public figures, lives this principle in full. Most people fear failure because they take it personally. A failed idea feels like a failed identity. A lost opportunity feels like a reflection of self-worth. But Musk approaches failure through a different lens, detached from ego and centered on purpose. When rockets explode, when products flop, or when public opinion turns against him, he doesn't spiral into despair. Instead, he leans into the loss, studies what went wrong, and uses it as raw material for the next version. In psychological terms, this is the essence of resilience, not avoiding adversity, but metabolizing it into growth. The idea of Amor Fati is about more than accepting misfortune. It's about welcoming it as necessary. The Stoics believe that everything that happens, good or bad, belongs to the natural order of life and must be met with courage, not complaint. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." Musk's trajectory embodies this metaphor. Rather than being extinguished by setbacks, he burns brighter because of them. Take SpaceX as an example. The early years were marked by catastrophic failures. Rockets that took years to design and millions of dollars to build exploded within seconds of launch. The media mocked him. Investors hesitated. And yet, Musk didn't abandon the project. He funded another launch, one that almost didn't happen. He said that if the fourth rocket had failed, SpaceX would have gone bankrupt. But he was willing to take that risk, not out of recklessness, but because he understood that the only way to achieve something revolutionary was to accept and even embrace the possibility of failure. There's a psychological shift that happens when you stop seeing failure as something to be feared and start seeing it as something to be worked with. It changes your relationship with risk. You stop being paralyzed by what could go wrong and start focusing on what you can learn if it does. This is exactly how Musk operates. He doesn't pretend failure doesn't hurt, but he doesn't let it dominate his mindset either. He asks the hard questions. What failed? Why? How do we fix it? That focus on process over outcome is pure Stoic thinking, a more fatty in action. Psychologists talk about this as post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where individuals grow stronger, wiser, and more focused because of adversity, not in spite of it. Musk seems to naturally engage with this process. He treats each failure not as a sign that something is wrong, but as confirmation that something bold is being attempted. This way of thinking builds psychological durability, the ability to absorb pressure without breaking, to adapt without losing clarity. Another crucial part of this mindset is humility. Musk's relationship with failure shows that he doesn't consider himself above mistakes. He doesn't hide behind layers of corporate denial or blame his team when things fall apart. He owns the outcome, even when it's ugly. This accountability strengthens his psychological grounding. The Stoics taught that one must take full responsibility for how we respond to life's events, regardless of how unjust or unexpected they may be. Musk doesn't seek pity. He doesn't play the victim. He simply moves forward again and again. There's something liberating about Amor Fati, and Musk seems to live in that freedom. When you stop resisting what happens and start using it, life opens up. You no longer waste energy wishing things were different. Instead, you act decisively within the reality you're given. This is where power lives, not in control over outcomes, but in mastery over mindset. This mindset isn't reserved for billionaires or entrepreneurs. Anyone can practice it. When you lose something, when you fail a test, when someone lets you down, you have a choice. You can curse fate, or you can embrace it. You can complain, or you can extract wisdom. Amor Fati invites you to stop asking, why me? And start saying, even this serves me. It's a radical psychological shift, and one that rewires your brain for long-term resilience and peace. Elon Musk's success, when examined through this lens, isn't just about innovation or engineering. It's about how he metabolizes loss. He doesn't avoid pain, he integrates it. He doesn't fear falling, he prepares for it. And most importantly, he doesn't fight fate, he aligns with it. That's why he keeps pushing boundaries others don't even dare to approach. Because he's not afraid of what might go wrong. He's ready to learn from it, rise through it, and use it to fuel something greater. Amor Fati isn't just a Stoic phrase. It's a mindset that can change how you approach every disappointment in life. Elon Musk has shown what it looks like when lived fully. Calm in crisis, bold in uncertainty, and committed to a vision that failure can only sharpen, not stop. In Elon Musk's world, feelings don't lead, logic does. Where others are driven by emotion, ego, and public approval, Musk focuses on systems, principles, and clarity of thought. He often speaks about first principles thinking, a method of reasoning where ideas are stripped down to their fundamental truths and rebuilt from scratch. This method is deeply aligned with the ancient Stoic concept of logos, a Greek term meaning reason, structure, and the rational order of the universe. In Stoic psychology, logos is a force that governs nature and the mind alike. For Musk, this principle is not just philosophical, it's practical. It's how he makes decisions, solves problems, and stays grounded in chaos. Most people rely on analogy thinking. They compare present problems with past solutions. It's fast, emotionally satisfying, but often limited. Musk avoids this trap by using first principles to bypass assumptions and get to the root of things. For example, instead of asking how to build a cheaper rocket using existing models, he asked, what are the raw materials of a rocket? How much do they cost on the open market? Why is manufacturing so expensive if the materials are not? This kind of deep, rational inquiry reflects a Stoic mindset. Do not be misled by appearances, traditions, or emotions. Seek the truth beneath them. This approach reflects emotional maturity because it requires a consistent refusal to be distracted by pride, impulse, or fear. In psychological terms, it's a mastery of executive function, the part of the brain that governs planning, analysis, and long-term thinking. In Stoic terms, it's about aligning yourself with logos, living in harmony with reason and objective truth, even when emotions tempt you to do otherwise. Musk's decisions often seem detached from ego. He doesn't build electric cars to be liked. He didn't create SpaceX to gain applause. He does it because the problems are real and reason demands real solutions. What makes this so rare is that modern society is heavily driven by emotion and external validation. Leaders often make decisions based on public opinion, stock pressure, or fear of backlash. Musk often ignores those pressures. He takes unpopular stances, challenges dominant narratives, and speaks plainly, even when it costs him. Some interpret this as arrogance, but from a Stoic lens, it can be understood as freedom from emotional tyranny. He isn't driven by how things feel. He's guided by how things are. This is what the Stoics meant when they emphasized living according to nature, not the nature of emotions, which are chaotic and changeable, but the nature of logic, structure, and purpose. To live in harmony with logos is to think clearly in a confused world. Musk's vision for humanity, colonizing Mars, transitioning to sustainable energy, creating neural interfaces, isn't fueled by fantasy. It's grounded in logical necessity. What must we do now to avoid existential risk later? He is thinking not in years, but in centuries. That kind of long-range planning demands a deep commitment to logic over ego. This is also evident in how Musk handles pressure. When problems multiply, production delays, financial risks, public scandals, he doesn't default to blame or panic. He breaks the problem down. He rebuilds the system. This methodical approach mirrors the Stoic process of self-examination. Marcus Aurelius advised himself each night to review the day rationally. What did I do well? What did I do poorly? What can I improve tomorrow? This kind of emotional accountability builds inner order, a state where one's actions are governed not by chaos, but by clarity. Musk demonstrates his discipline in how he pivots, restructures, and iterates, always learning, always recalibrating. There's also a deeper layer here, detachment from identity. Musk doesn't cling to fixed labels. He's not just a car guy or a space guy or a tech CEO. He's a systems thinker. And systems thinkers follow logic, not legacy. This is why he can shut down one project and start another without hesitation. It's not about protecting his image. It's about solving real problems. This detachment from personal identity allows him to stay flexible, objective, and solution-focused. 3 psychological traits critical to long-term success. In your own life, this philosophy is powerful. You don't need to be a genius to think in systems. You just need to slow down, step back, and ask, what are the facts? What do I know for sure? What assumptions am I making? Am I reacting from ego or responding from reason? This shift from emotional reaction to logical response is a foundation of Stoic living and is available to anyone willing to practice it. Elon Musk's success, when viewed through the lens of logos, is not accidental. It is the outcome of sustained discipline, of thinking clearly, acting purposefully, and rejecting the noise of ego-driven behavior. His mind is structured like the systems he builds, efficient, ordered, and scalable. He doesn't get lost in the moment. He sees the whole. And this panoramic vision, rooted in rationality, is what allows him to lead with courage while others are consumed by short-term emotions. In the end, Musk's brilliance isn't just technological, it's psychological. It's how he thinks, how he decides, and how he governs his emotions with reason. He lives, consciously or not, according to logos, and that is the true source of his strength, not his fame, not his fortune, but his mind's alignment with truth. In a world addicted to comfort, distracted by noise, and ruled by emotion, Elon Musk offers a rare example of mental discipline, strategic clarity, and inner strength. His success isn't just a result of intelligence or ambition. It's rooted in a powerful psychological framework that mirrors the ancient wisdom of Stoicism. Through voluntary hardship, he trains his mind to endure what others avoid. Through emotional detachment, he refuses to let chaos dictate his decisions. Through Amor Fati, he transforms failure into fuel. And through alignment with logos, he navigates complexity with reason instead of ego. Each of these principles forms a foundation, not just for leadership or innovation, but for psychological mastery. Elon Musk doesn't just build rockets or electric cars. He builds resilience, clarity, and purpose in a world that desperately lacks all 3. His journey shows us that true power begins within, not with wealth, but with a disciplined mind, a grounded soul, and a clear vision anchored in reason. This is the Stoic psychology behind Elon Musk's success, and it's not exclusive to billionaires. It's a mindset anyone can practice, starting right now. So the real question isn't how far Musk can go. It's how far you can go when you begin to master yourself.